What you see on your screen is an exodus of migrants. Thousands of migrants left southern Mexico for the US border. They have a common hope to reach the United States.
The route that was opened to us via the CBP-1 asylum appointments has been closed. That was one of the things that was giving us migrants hope. So we've decided to go to the border and get an answer. We still hope to be able to enter the United States.
While migrants are approaching, the US is fortifying the border by installing barriers and razor wire to prevent the entry of migrants. Thousands of troops have been deployed to guard the borders. 24/7 patrolling is underway. With these heightened security measures in place, the question is, will migrants find a way to cross into the United States? Hello and welcome to Connecting the Dots. Let's connect the dots of Trump's immigration policy and see how it affects non-Americans pursuing the American dream. Donald Trump took office as the 47th President of the United States last week. On the very first day of taking office, Trump declared illegal immigration a national emergency.
First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country.
As Trump gives the order, action begins. A massive crackdown on illegal immigrants is underway in the United States. US federal agents are in a massive hunt to arrest illegal immigrants in the country. More than 1,000 illegal immigrants have been arrested so far. US Homeland Security agents have even conducted raids at gurudwaras for undocumented immigrants. The move has sparked outrage from Sikh organizations. Trump launched, quote-unquote, the largest mass deportation operation in history with the signing of an executive order. Hundreds of immigrants were flown out of the US on military aircraft. Brazil expressed outrage after dozens of immigrants deported from the United States arrived by plane in handcuffs.
Those people don't like us, no. They treat us like dogs. A dog is treated better than us.
Hollywood singer-actor Selena Gomez broke down in tears over Trump's latest immigration crackdown.
Only people are getting attacked. The children.
The United States is home to the world's largest immigrant population. As of 2023, the immigrant population in the US was over 47.8 million people, which is more than 14% of the country's total population. Mexico is the top country of birth for US immigrants, followed by India, China, and the Philippines. The fear and uncertainties are mounting among immigrant communities in the United States. One of the major policy shifts after Trump assumed office is to end birthright citizenship. Donald Trump's executive order directs US agencies not to recognize the citizenship of children born in the US if neither parent is a citizen or lawful permanent resident. Under this order, children born after February 19 would face deportation, denied social security numbers, government benefits, and legal work opportunities as they grow up. The administration argues that birthright citizenship incentivizes illegal immigration and places a strain on public resources. However, a federal judge issued a temporary block on Trump's order, calling it clearly unconstitutional. This was done after 4 Democratic-led states, Washington, Arizona, Illinois, and Oregon, asked for it. Meanwhile, Trump said his administration will appeal the order. Listen to Trump's reaction after a reporter asked about a US judge blocking his executive order.
Mr. President, a U.S. judge temporarily blocks the birthright citizenship order. Do you have any reaction?
No, obviously we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
The debate over birthright citizenship centers on the 14th Amendment, which was adopted in 1868 following the Civil War and guarantees citizenship to all individuals born in the United States.
I think our country is built on immigrants, and the reason we have birthright citizenship is to encourage people to move here. And if we want to grow our country, that's the best way to do it.
I think it would hurt so many people that I feel almost like it's un-American. I mean, we've been a country that has welcomed people, so I feel like if you're born here, I feel like you should be a citizen here.
This principle, known as birthright citizenship, stems from the landmark Supreme Court case Wong Kim Ark versus United States, 1898, which affirmed that children born in the US are citizens regardless of their parents' immigration status. Critics argue that birthright citizenship encourages birth tourism, undocumented immigrants entering the US solely to give birth. However, legal scholars generally agree that amending this constitutional right would be extremely difficult, requiring a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress and ratification by 3/4 of states. Recent changes to birthright citizenship policies have created anxiety among Indian families. For many Indian families on H-1B or L-1 visas, birthright citizenship has been a crucial safety net. With increasing visa restrictions and a lengthy green card backlog, the prospect of their children becoming US citizens has been a significant factor in their immigration plans. Reports say there is a sudden rush for early deliveries among pregnant women. Concerns over recent changes to birthright citizenship policies have led to significant increase in the number of Indian women on H-1B and L-1 visas seeking early C-sections. Many parents hoping to secure US citizenship for their children are rushing to deliver their babies before the new policy's effective date. This is due to the concern that children born after the policy change may not automatically become US citizens unless at least one parent is already a citizen or a green card holder. While women nearing the end of their pregnancy are opting for C-sections, some in their second or early third trimester are also exploring this option to ensure that children are born before the policy change. As the immigration debate rages on, one thing is clear: the American dream is becoming increasingly elusive. If bullying has a face, it is this. Dramatic scenes from South China Sea, or what Philippines calls West Philippine Sea. Here, a Chinese naval helicopter can be seen hovering over Philippine ships, and a Chinese Coast Guard ship can be seen helping it chase them away. Philippines says Chinese vessels harassed their boats in Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Listen to this threatening radio communication from the Chinese Coast Guard ship 3103.
Philippine Coast Guard 4409, this is China Coast Guard 3103, conducting law business routine patrol under the jurisdiction of People's Republic of China. Please alter your course and leave immediately, or you will take necessary measure and you should bear full responsibility for all the consequences.
The threat is directed at Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Cabra. BRP Cabra can be heard here asking the Chinese ship to back off.
China Coast Guard vessel 3103. This is Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Cabra MRRP 4409. You are requested to your currently sailing within the Philippines exclusive economic zone, approximately 94.4 nautical miles, west by north of Capones, Savalas, Philippines.
Here's how the face-off started. It was January 24, 2025. As per the Philippine Coast Guard, 2 Philippine fisheries inflatable boats were on their way to collect sand samples for a scientific survey from Sandy Cay near the Philippine-occupied Thitu Island. But they were forced to abandon the mission after they faced aggressive maneuvers from 3 Chinese Coast Guard vessels, 4 smaller boats, and a Chinese naval helicopter. Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson called China's behavior barbaric and illegitimate. On the other hand, China's Coast Guard lauded itself for expelling the Philippine vessels. Chinese Coast Guard claimed the Philippine vessels had entered waters near Tiashan Reef without permission and tried to illegally land on the reef to collect sand samples. China claims indisputable sovereignty over the Spratly Islands, including Sandy Cay, which China calls Tiashan Reef. But such confrontations are neither new nor rare. A couple of weeks back, China's monster ship was seen loitering in Philippines' backyard. Manila responded by deploying assets to counter the world's largest Coast Guard vessel. It called the deployment within its exclusive economic zone alarming.
The presence of the monster ship in our waters is illegal and inconsistent with the exercise of freedom of navigation and innocent passage. It is clearly a provocative act. It is also a clear attempt to intimidate our fishermen and deprive them of their legitimate livelihood. It is, in short, an intimidation tactic used by the PRC to break the spirits of our fisherfolk and discourage them from fishing in the West Philippine Sea.
Fact is that both the countries have been engaging in a long-running series of escalating confrontations in the disputed waters of the South China Sea for years. China claims almost all of the strategic waterway. Its claims overlap with that of the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Brunei. And here's why countries are interested in these waters. The South China Sea is crucial for global commerce as each year over $3 trillion worth of goods are shipped through it. Over 80% of crude oil destined for Japan, Taiwan and South Korea moves through it. More than half of the world's fishing vessels operate in this area. These waters are also rich in hydrocarbons with an estimated 11 billion barrels of untapped oil and 190 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. It is also home to rich fishing grounds that provide for the livelihoods of millions of people across the region. Now let's see what the international law governing ocean space has to say. United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea or UNCLOS is a universally accepted convention adopted in 1982. It sets out rights and obligations of states in the ocean space. It is the first international treaty to establish a uniform maximum breadth of the territorial sea at 12 nautical miles. It has created the 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. Coastal states possess sovereign rights to the resources inside the EEZ. UNCLOS sees the resources in and under the high seas as the common heritage of mankind. Beijing ratified UNCLOS in 1996. But it asserts ancient rights to make maritime claims its own way. It claims it has domestic jurisdiction to enforce its maritime claims. In doing so, it weakens the principles underpinning UNCLOS, leaving the international law of the sea in danger of further unraveling. In 2012, Beijing took control of Scarborough Shoal within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone after a months-long standoff involving paramilitary ships. Tensions escalated, and Philippines became the first country to initiate arbitral proceedings against China at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague. In a historic ruling in 2016, the court ruled in favor of the Philippines. It dismissed Beijing's claim based on historic maps to much of the South China Sea. It ruled China's claims had no basis under international law. In other words, the ruling meant that the 9-dash line, which China has now expanded to 10-dash line to cover Taiwan too, provided no basis for China's expansive claims. But China rejected the verdict and refuses to recognize it. The ruling has done little to rein in Beijing, which has continued to build islands, militarize them, and deploy Coast Guard, fishing boats, and maritime militia in the disputed waters. Despite the tensions, China and the Philippines held talks on the 16th of January to manage the disagreements over the South China Sea. Clearly, those talks did not help in averting the latest face-off. The latest flare-up of the long-simmering territorial disputes is a test for the Donald Trump administration. It could test President Trump's commitment to maintain America's role as a counterweight to China, which has increasingly carried out assertive actions in the disputed waters. Washington has a mutual defense treaty with Manila. In March 2024, the US confirmed that the treaty extended to both countries' armed forces, public vessels and aircraft in South China Sea. There are clear indications that the Trump administration is taking a tough stand against China on Philippines' defense. In a recent telephone call, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio told his Philippine counterpart Enrique Manalo that the People's Republic of China's behavior in South China Sea undermines regional peace and stability and is inconsistent with international law. He underscored the United States' ironclad commitments to the Philippines under the Mutual Defense Treaty. The latest face-off comes at a time when the US military has relocated its Typhoon missile launchers to an unknown location within the Philippines to enhance their mobility and survivability. The redeployment includes Tomahawk and SM-6 missiles, aiming to strengthen the US anti-ship capabilities in the Indo-Pacific region. While the Tomahawk cruise missiles and the launchers can hit targets in both China and Russia from the Philippines, the SM-6 missiles can strike air or sea targets more than 200 kilometers or 165 miles away. China continues to oppose the deployment.
On the US deployment of mid-range capability missile system in the Philippines, China has made clear its opposition more than once. I want to stress once again that introducing such strategic and offensive weapons into the region is a highly dangerous move. It will escalate regional tensions and divisions, provoke geopolitical confrontation, and fuel an arms race.
The Philippines has faced a lopsided battle against the militarily superior China in the disputed waters of the South China Sea, prompting it to strengthen security alliances with the United States and other friendly states to build deterrence against Beijing's aggressive actions. Japan has stepped up its presence in recent years by selling military equipment to the Philippines and Vietnam to improve their maritime security capacity. India stepped in too by delivering the first batch of BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles to the Philippines as part of a $375 million deal to supply the weapon systems. Few years ago, the Philippines adopted a shame campaign by releasing to domestic and international audiences videos and photographs of China's increasingly assertive actions in the contested waters, including the use of powerful water cannons and dangerous blocking maneuvers. But the territorial spats, particularly between Chinese and Philippine Coast Guard forces, have continued. Now Philippines has taken the battle to children. It's launched a comic book to counter China's disinformation and to explain complex territorial disputes in simple terms. The intended recipients are young students and Filipinos in far-flung regions with limited access to news sources, besides foreign readers who show interest. Filipino officials say the idea is to highlight Philippines' maritime rights and entitlements while revealing China's unlawful activities, aggressive behavior, and bullying tactics. The book also sheds light on the significance of the landmark 2016 ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in favor of the Philippines. While there seems to be no end in sight to the heckling in South China Sea, there are those who say it is time to rename the South China Sea and give it a name that promotes regional collaboration and understanding. Though adopting a new name for the sea around Southeast Asia would not be without its challenges, as it requires navigating the entrenched national narratives and sensitivities of the countries involved. Philippines calls it West Philippine Sea since 2012. This rebranding represents a conscious effort by the Philippine government to reclaim its narrative in the face of external challenges. By doing this, it aims to reinforce its sovereignty and assert its interests in the face of increasing competition. Similarly, in 2017, the Indonesian government released a new official map that renamed part of the South China Sea lying within its exclusive economic zone as North Natuna Sea. This initiative came after repeated incursions by Chinese vessels. This renaming highlights Indonesia's concern about its rights and sovereignty of its exclusive economic zone around the Nathunas. So how can the dispute be managed for now if not resolved? The increasing incidents highlight the urgent need for ASEAN to negotiate and enforce an actionable code of conduct with China in South China Sea. ASEAN has been scrambling to negotiate one with China since 2002. The question is, can the international community bring enough pressure to bear on China to not only agree on such a code, but also abide by it? That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmun Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.